Here we are, heading into our fourth week of learning with Lakefield, remotely. At this point, science and researchers who have studied learning in this environment tell us that the honeymoon phase may feel like it's ending, if it isn't over already, and the dog days of remote learning begin to bark louder. The novelty of the program is gone and motivation wanes. How do we rekindle the fire? Where do we find the strength to dig that much deeper? Yesterday, I had the opportunity to speak with chaplains from other Ontario schools, and we all identified the fact that our schools are grieving. We are grieving the loss of being together, the loss of our community. In his recent article in the Harvard Business Review, Scott Baronato spoke to this exact issue. He called us to acknowledge the grief, to accept what it is, and to work together to live with it. According to Kessler and Kubler-Ross's classic work on the stages of grief, on grief and grieving, we are supposed to accept grief. But I prefer to think of it as living with it. The challenge with this grief we are currently experiencing is that we are all experiencing it together. Normally, when there's a loss in life, we can turn to others who are not experiencing the same depth of sorrow as we are. And it is our friends who we lean on to help us pull through. In this case, a global pandemic. The whole world is experiencing the same sorrow, but not necessarily at the same time. It wanes in and out of our bloodstreams. One tip for dealing with this macro grief, as he calls it, is to identify it and then reach out to others who may not be in the same depth that you are at that moment. And friends, when you are called upon to support others, Baronato calls us to build up our stores of compassion, so when called upon, you are ready and able to care. Another tip as we fall into the grief of what we have lost is to do our utmost, with the help of friends, to shift our mindset from grief of loss to the celebration of life. Someone who can be of help with this is our friend Dr. Leah Waters. You may remember Dr. Waters from her visit to Lakefield when she worked with our staff in 2018. Dr. Waters is the author of The Strength Switch and a leading expert in the area of positive psychology. She calls us to savor and celebrate the small blessings of life that we often take for granted. In her article, Silver Linings, How to Stay Positive During the Coronavirus Crisis, she reminds us to appreciate the simpler things, the warmth of a hot shower, or the smell of freshly brewed coffee. These reminders help us to boost our serotonin, the calming hormone that elevates our mood. The way we feel drives the way we think and fuels our mindsets. It's not only serotonin that we need in the battle for motivation. We are also in need of oxytocin, the hormone that overrides stress, the cortisol hormone, and comes from embracing our connections with our loved ones. And we get this best when we engage in deep conversations with those we love, when we hug our kids or our siblings, and cuddle our pets. Yes, this is all nice and warm and fuzzy, but then there's still work and school work. And finding the strength to tackle schoolwork can be a challenge. Motivation runs thin, and we all just want to pull the sheets over our head and wake up when it's all over. But we just can't. We need to dig deep. We need to push through. We need to be resilient. We need to be gritty. Angela Duckworth reminds us that life is a marathon, not a sprint, and we all need to set goals and work hard through life to achieve them. And she wrote a great book about it that I recommend, Grit, The Power of Passion and Perseverance. And she calls us to never give up on ourselves and to remember that we are the authors of our own futures. And most importantly, perhaps, in our current COVID-19 world, she reminds parents that we need to be grittier at helping our kids be gritty. And it's not always the easiest route. but it's one that we are called to take to help our kids be at their best. In The Coddling of the American Mind, Greg Lukianoff and Jonathan Haidt say that the best thing we can do for our children is to raise them to be anti-fragile, to face challenges and to persevere through them. Like an immunity to a virus, it gives us the strength to conquer future challenges with less fear. With every challenge defeated, we are stronger to face the next. Tackling the challenges of motivation during our time of social distancing and remote learning can be tough. I hope that some of the resources I've shared have been helpful to you. There is so much more out there. But in the end, I come back to us, to Lakefield College School, to who we are and to what we stand for. Our school motto, mens sana in corpore sano, a healthy mind and a healthy body. It says it all. If we honor these words every day, we will find the motivation to get through this. And here's one way we can do that. On Sundays, set and write down daily goals for yourself and your family to achieve throughout the week together. And as you achieve them, check them off daily. You view your week's progress on Saturday and set new ones again on Sunday. And your goals should be much more than work or academics. Set social goals together, like picking up trash, helping a neighbor with yard work, delivering food, doing good deeds. And set physical goals like walks, runs, push-ups, healthy eating, and share them with your friends and one another, and complete them as a family as often as you can. And as you achieve them, celebrate your success, and then set some more. We've been using the saying, we are Lakefield, we got this, and we do. We do because we believe in you. For your Lakefield, you've got this.